also it's the same medication that gives you super boners. So he's like in his mid 50s and he's like, dude, I feel amazing. Hey, welcome to the Casually Fit Podcast, episode number 8 million.
8 million!
Yeah, it's been a long road for us in these past 3 or 4 days where we recorded all of these episodes. Welcome to the Casually Fit Life Podcast, where the two fittish people on earth tell you about fitness.
That's right. We are the fittish, and we hope we can make you just a little more fittish as well with our knowledge.
So today's episode, we're going to talk about the BDSM of strength and conditioning, also known as accommodating resistance, or you could just call it BDS gym. No, I could do better.
You could. I don't know what BDSM stands for, so I can't really chime in here.
And then we'll talk about supplements and why are the CrossFit games boring.
Yes, because they're
boring.
super boring.
All right, accommodating resistance. So I first learned about accommodating resistance from Louis Simmons, who's a very large man who wears very tiny glasses, and I'm pretty sure can read German and Russian. So accommodating resistance is a theory that has been popularized by Louis Simmons of the conjugate method. The idea is, as you move through a range of motion, you use a device to where the stronger point in that range of motion, the movement gets harder. So typically we do linear resistance. So it's the same weight as you go down in the bottom of a squat and the same weight as you come back up. Mm-hmm. Now, in accommodating resistance, one way that we can do that is that we put a band around the bar. So we put it on the bar on either side, and then we attach it to a hook on the ground. So at the very top of the movement, the band is stretched the furthest, and the resistance is the highest, because at the top third of the squat, that's where you're the strongest. Then as you drop down lower and lower and lower into the squat, the band is giving less and less resistance, so you are able to move that weight easier. Then as you stand back up, it gets harder as you rise.
Yes, that's right. So there's like three main ways to do it. The bands is the one, chains are the other common way to do it. But it's the same principle, because as you stand up with chains hanging from a bar, more weight is now hanging from the bar as it rises off the ground versus when you're putting the chains on the ground. And then the other one is the releases. I don't know if you've seen like weight releases before, but they're common with the bench press for sure. They're little hooks that go on the end of the bar that they might be a couple feet long. So that way, when you hit the bottom of your bench press, the bottom of the hook attachment actually hits the ground, which causes it to detach from the bar.
That's cool. I've never seen that before.
Yeah, so they hook onto the end of the bar, and you can add like weights to them, and they're angled, like the bottom of it's angled a little bit, so that way when it hits the ground, it causes the hook to release off the bar, and then you can press up without that additional weight. So you could overload the eccentric.
So is that accommodating resistance, or is that just like an eccentric overload? And are they the same thing?
I would argue that it's a form of accommodating resistance. That's what I would think, because it's heavier on your stronger portion of the lift. Right. I mean, I'm sure you could classify however they classify those, definitions of what accommodating resistance is, but I would say it's the same principle,
Yeah, and the way that I think people forget is that you can do this with a spotter.
Yeah, 100%.
So if you just have a spotter help you at the bottom of the lift and you do 8 to 10 reps, it's just not precise. Not that a band is really precise or chains is really precise, because it's hard to measure as you lift it off the ground. But the idea is they help you at the bottom, you get it off your chest, and then you can finish strong. And that's the easiest way to do it.
Yeah. I mean, you could be pretty precise with chains, right? Because you could always use the same chains, and you could always do them like in the same place, like on the same platform or whatever. So you could be pretty precise with chains. Bands, they change, right? They get weaker, or you might not get the same band.
We actually did a band resistance test with a push-up before. So we put our hands on the scale, and then we put the band on the floor, and we tested what our body weight was at the top and what it was at the bottom of the differential. So it was like, I think we used a green Monster band from Rogue, and I think it was a 50-pounder at, I guess you'd call it like 2x, roughly 2x distance on a stretch. So you can test this on a squat rack. If you put a band on your back, the band is attached to the floor, you stand on the scale, you measure your weight at the top, and then you measure your weight again at the bottom, so you can actually see what the difference is.
Yeah, it's really cool. And
it's a lot of work to solve a problem that doesn't really exist, though.
Yeah. It's always funny, though, because like it always seems like you always think in your mind, if you haven't done this type of training before, you always think that you can put relatively the same amount of weight on that you always put on and just add a band. But often it doesn't work out well like that. You end up using a lot lighter weight to keep it safe. But
I will say I'm extremely less sore compared to when I'm doing a comparable weight on the bar with a linear resistance pattern.
That makes sense to me, though, because like for squats, for example, you know, that bottom of the squat is going to be lighter, right, than what it would be otherwise. So
yeah, that's the amortization phase.
The amortization phase. What do you think is the main benefit of doing accommodating resistance?
So I think all of Louis' programming is you can lift the least amount of weight or with the and get the maximal result.
Yes, I love that. Yeah, exactly. So what's like the minimum input that you can give the system for the maximum output, right? How efficient can you be, right?
I like it too, because you can develop speed strength with bands too.
That's what I was going to say was the main characteristic that you're trying to change is the speed. That's what I was going to say. And then speed obviously will help you lift more weight.
Mm-hmm.
But I like how you phrased it, like trying to get the best, use the minimum weight for the maximum results. I like that.
Yeah, no, I do think people get this wrong a lot, though. So take, for example, the pull-up, right? Mm-hmm. So you have an eccentric and concentric. Concentric is when you're pulling up. Eccentric is when you're lowering back down, right? So where is the strength curve? What does the strength curve look like for the pull-up? Like, what's the easiest part of the pull-up?
The easiest part of the pull-up is probably in the middle somewhere, I would think.
Right. So to do an accommodating resistance, you put a band on you, and as you pull up, it gets harder and harder and harder. But the top is usually the hardest.
It's still very hard, yeah.
Right, yeah. So it's not like it's getting easier. Now, if you flip the band the other way, you're getting the most amount of help at the bottom. And I think the bottom, like that initial pull, is the easiest.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
So the people who are learning to do pull-ups with band assistance, where the band is helping them go up, is actually opposite of the strength curve. So as you get closer to the top, right, everyone gets like 3/4 of the way from the bar, and then they can't quite make it. And then that's where the band is helping you the least.
Yeah, no, I hear what you're saying. I'm just wondering, because the only reason why I'm wondering is because there's so many people who otherwise can't do a pull-up, right? Mm-hmm. So the band is obviously doing something, right? It's just not doing this, what accommodating resistance is intended to do.
Right. It would be accommodating assistance.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is totally cool. And there's like some, what do they call it? The new wave method, where it is literally the opposite. So you tie a band around a pull-up bar over you, and you do a bench press, so the band helps you at the bottom. And that's just reversing the strength curve or the assistance. So I like accommodating resistance for speed, and I like pairing it with a low to no weight plyometric movement.
Okay.
So a banded deadlift paired with a box jump.
Box jump, yeah.
One of my favorite, or a triple jump, or a broad jump, or a single leg jump and reach kind of thing. I think you really, really can get more performance without changing anything physiologically.
Yeah.
It's like purely neurological adaptation, which is cool because that means you don't have to get bigger. You don't have to get heavier. You're the same person, but you can be stronger than you were before that.
I like that.
I do get sore from those, though.
From what, the pairings?
Yeah.
Okay. That's interesting. I do like those combinations. I still like how you phrased it though, because I think that is pretty much the key of like, that's the name of the whole strength training game, right? And no matter what you're talking about, is what's the minimum input I can do here to get the type of change that I want. And so I think that's just a really good way to think about it. So how can you increase your speed, your bar speed, without overloading your system unnecessarily? And that's what the bands or chains can do.
So you can do this for any lift, really, right?
Yeah, you can find a way to do it for anything.
I really, really like it as a teaching tool for an Olympic weightlifting move, a clean or a snatch.
Interesting. Okay. So
if you've never done banded cleans, it's crazy. Do a hang power clean. I wouldn't do anything other than that. You could do a squat clean too, but what happens is as you approach that top of the movement, if you don't create maximal force on that band, it's going to immediately just snap back downwards and you're not going to have time to get underneath of it.
Yeah.
So if you get true triple extension, you get a solid, consistent pull throughout the whole thing. The band has time to, like, you're pulling the bar and the band gets weaker, but that gives you time to transition underneath of it to regain a position of strength.
Right. Okay. Huh.
And then the first time, oh, you haven't?
No.
Okay, if you do it with a snatch, you got to use the lightest bands that you can possibly find because the range of motion is so big.
Yeah, it's a huge range of motion.
But just hang power cleans, and then I promise you, you will step off of that into a hang power clean without the bands, and you will punch yourself in the throat with the bar.
I could see that. I believe that. I definitely believe that.
And if you, I would say too, and there's probably some videos of this, if you give me like an intermediate lifter who knows how to do a clean, they're like pretty proficient with it, I would put money down that I could get that person to PR their power clean in that 30-minute session.
With that?
Yeah, with that.
So that's good. I like that. I'd never thought about doing it with an Olympic lift, but so what you're saying, what I'm hearing is like you're teaching that person how to be faster, but obviously you're not changing them like physiologically in any way in 30 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
But what you're doing is you're kind of showing them that, hey, really what you're saying is, hey, you've been lazy. You have been lifting lazy. And now you need to tap into this. And with Olympic lifting, this is not really anything to do with accommodating resistance per se, but with Olympic lifting, I always had like the best sessions when I would start off with doing just the muscle snatch, like start off with the muscle snatch as long as I could. And obviously not going too heavy with that, but
as heavy as you can.
As heavy as you can with the muscle snatch. And then when I transition, I stay at whatever that weight is, stay at that weight and transition to power snatch and then keep building.
Mm-hmm.
Always had a better session doing that because I'm forcing myself to finish the pull literally and be as quick as I can. And I guess you're saying like bands kind of can teach you the same thing.
Yeah. And it makes for a good warm up, what you just said.
Oh yeah. That's how I'd love to warm up my.
You don't even need to think about it.
Yeah.
Bar 65, 85, 105, like you just keep stacking tens and until you can't, and then you make that transition. And I think that's a super helpful drill too, because you learn to catch it where the bar is and not catch it where it should be. Yeah.
Yeah. I like that. So accommodating resistance is that really anytime you're going to have a band, you can pretty much just, except for like the pull-up example you pointed out, but you're probably using some form of accommodating resistance. Anytime you have the band and chains are meant to do the same thing as well.
So when you do, let's call it a push-up, you can take a band and just put it behind your back and put your hands on it. Like it's super hard. Yeah. And it's so easy to do that.
Yeah.
You can do it with like a glute bridge, put it under your feet. If you're deadlifting or squatting, you can put the band on you and then not even on the bar at all. So you can rack it, take a couple steps back and then do your squatting. Just be careful when you pick your feet up because you might get smacked in the ass.
Yeah.
But this is the BDSM of weightlifting. So it's like kind of intentional.
Bands and chains, and you got to throw on your leather outfit.
The leather wraps for your core. You got your leather belt.
And at the top, you just get somebody to whip you as soon as you stand the.
I mean, we do smelling salts, right? What's the difference? They're just
Yeah.
waking you up differently.
Top of every squat, just.
As you're rising up, two people just smack your ass with a paddle.
Yeah.
I might stand it up. I might.
You're gonna get it up at that point.
And I might stand the bar up too.
Yes. Yeah. Good point. Both of those things.
So the cool thing is about accommodating resistance is it's inexpensive to get in on. You know, you just buy a set of bands, which some bands are kind of expensive for, I don't know why, because people keep buying them, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. But no, you can find like a set of bands for, I don't know, $50 maybe.
Yeah. And then get after it. And the only cautionary tale I have is make sure the band is definitely stuck on the weight. So there's no way that it's coming off. Yeah. And as you use those bands more, it's really important to rotate the sides for the bands because they're not going to be even. And one will definitely be tighter than the other. But that's super easy to do. Just switch bands every once in a while from the left to the right, and you should be good to go. Yeah.
And I think that's a good point. It's not meant to be like, the whole point isn't to max out. You're not going for a 1 rep max. So you should be doing reps with it. You know, like what do you think would be a good workout with bands? Like 3 reps at a time?
Yeah, I would say 3 to 5, even 3 to 6 with 7 or 8 really.
Yeah. And like, again, speed is kind of the name of the game. So maybe you're doing 10 by 3 or something like that. Mm-hmm. But you're going for that speed. So even if you have that imbalance there because you're not at a super heavy weight, as long as you rotate them, it'll have a minimal effect, that imbalance. But if you're trying to go for like a max out and then you got one band pulling more on the other side, that could lead to an injury, but if nothing else, it's at least going to throw you off big time.
Do you have a favorite lift, accommodating resistance lift?
Yeah, well, just the classics. Like it's either going to be a squat or a deadlift, I would think. And I think I prefer the deadlift.
I love the banded box back squat.
Okay, yeah.
It's my favorite version.
I do like that combo with the box specifically. Without the box, I don't think I like it nearly as much.
It's way harder.
Yeah, because at least with the box, you're like super stable in the bottom because you're just sitting on a box.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's super fun to do.
Yeah, definitely a great way to mix it up. And now that we're having this conversation, I'm remembering the last episode where I was saying how badly I just wanted to do a conjugate training program. And now it's coming back to me. And now I think I'm going to have to do a conjugate program again. And this time I'm going to incorporate accommodating resistance.
And it's super fun because it's not traditional. Most people are like, oh yeah, I got back squats, 4x5. And you're like, oh, that sucks. Been there, done that. But if you get a group of 3 and you rotate through, you can keep pushing the weight. You can keep the pace up. You don't need as much rest. You can just kind of like get after it.
Yeah. I'm going to do conjugate now. My form of conjugate.
Yes.
All right, cool. So
supplements.
What's up? What's up, man?
Laments.
What's up, laments?
All right. Now, what do you think is the most purchased supplement in the U.S.?
Are you talking about like for gym people? I was going to say like a multivitamin.
A multivitamin? Okay.
But I mean, if you're thinking like gym, I would probably say protein powder.
Yeah. So vitamin D is the number 1 most common supplement of all time.
Oh.
In the U.S. at least.
Interesting. That's good.
Yeah. I thought that was a pretty interesting one. I'm pulling up my my list here. So vitamin D was pretty high up on there. Then you had like fish oil, of course, as a super popular one.
Let's say the ones we've taken, by the way, as you're going.
So I've taken vitamin D.
I don't think I've ever taken a vitamin D supplement.
I've taken fish oil.
I took it this morning.
Multivitamin.
Yep.
And then CoQ10. Are you familiar with coenzyme or whatever that is? CoQ10.
I've only heard of it, but I don't really know anything about it.
Yeah, it's an antioxidant for growth and maintenance that decrease over age.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah. So we're too young. We don't need them.
No, we don't need them.
So then you had the B vitamins, and then you go start looking at magnesium and calcium. And I think magnesium's super popular.
I've taken that one recently.
Yeah, and then probiotics, and then everyone knows this vitamin C, but no one takes it because it's fortified in a lot of foods.
Yeah. I've only done some of those like emergency packs. Like occasionally I get on this kick where I just want the emergency packs just in the water, so I'm not just drinking water.
Yes.
But
It
it's been
tastes kind of weird, doesn't it? It's like
I actually like it. I mean, you could tell that it's not like a drink that you just bought from 7-Eleven, that it's like some form of medicine. but I kind of like it. It just gives me a flavor, but it's been a long time since I've taken that. So
I tried it when I wasn't feeling too good, and I did a couple days, and
yeah.
Jury's still out if it helped or not.
Yeah, probably not.
Probably not, but it tasted better than water.
Exactly.
And when you're sick too, anything other than water tastes so good.
Yes.
And that's
okay. So, like, what other supplements have you taken? So we can give like a list here. We'll
compare
lists.
So on my list, I have protein powder, obviously.
Protein powder, I take it every day.
Mm-hmm. So I will tell you that I've had some changes in my belly. So I used to do protein powder and whole milk, and that was a long, long time ago.
Same, and the thought of that right now is a little scary.
Yeah. So then I was doing protein powder and lactose-free whole milk.
Okay.
And the whole reason is I use whole milk because I want as many calories as possible.
Yeah.
So I would drink it at work, and I would work on the floor coaching for 3 hours. And if I drank a third of it, I'd like, I don't feel good. And then I would drink 2/3 of it, and it feels like my belly was a hot air balloon.
Yeah.
And then I would go to literally anything else that's non-dairy plus protein powder, totally fine.
Mm-hmm.
And I can have lactose-free milk, totally fine. But the combo, it was just way too much for my gut.
I hear you. I take it with, I just use water now. It's a scoop of the protein powder and water.
Do you use the gold standard?
What?
The protein powder?
No, it's called Syntha 6.
Ooh, Syntha 6.
I believe it's BSN Supplements, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Let's get it on Amazon, and it's good. You remember Progenics?
Yeah.
I don't even know if they're still around, to be honest with you, but they used to be at like all the CrossFit events, and they would give like free samples out, and they would always mix their free samples with water, but it tasted so amazing. Like it was so good.
And
like,
it was really expensive.
That was the thing. It was really expensive, but you were like, no way is this mixed with water. This is so good.
Mm-hmm.
This Syntha 6 stuff is the closest I've been able to find that's not as expensive as Progenics. You get like, I buy the 10-pound bag for $85, I believe.
That's pretty good.
So, and that lasts like a couple months. 1 scoop a day, 90 scoop, lasts like 3 months. Yeah.
Yeah. So I use My Protein, and My Protein unflavored was the #1 ranked protein on Labdoor.
Unflavored?
Yeah. So their unflavored isn't as bad as you'd think. It's pretty so it is actually unflavored. It just feels like protein powder in my mouth.
Feels like sand or dirt.
No, it mixes really well. I got to give them credit for what they did. But I was like, I'm not going to buy 10 pounds of unflavored because that's weird. So I bought the vanilla, and it's way too sweet.
Yeah, I don't like the vanilla flavored stuff. Like, I like the idea of it, but anytime I get it, it doesn't taste good.
Yeah.
It just tastes too fake or whatever it is.
Yep.
The chocolate flavor is like, it's a reliable flavor. I don't know. Maybe we just had it too much as a kid.
I always come back to the chocolate.
Yeah.
Every time.
I like to like try and switch it up, but chocolate's the only one that is bearable over the long term.
Yeah. It's fun to get like cookies and cream or cake batter, but in 1 pound increments so I can knock it out and then just be done with it.
Exactly.
But the unflavored one, I will say, is like if you're just mixing it, knocking it back, totally palatable. The vanilla tastes really, really good with coffee.
Okay, that's a good move. I like that.
It's exceptionally delicious. And then instead of using a creamer, I was like using one of those little frothers to blend like 1 scoop with like 2 ounces of anything else really, milk, not enough to like add a lot of volume. But then I'd put that in coffee. So you're adding like 4 ounces to a 20-ounce cup of coffee. That's now 25 grams of protein.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah, and it's super, super delicious.
That sounds good. So
So,
the only like unflavored thing I think I've had another supplement is creatine.
yep, that was number 2 on my list.
Yeah, I've done that unflavored, and that's no big deal because usually when I take it, I just mix it with protein. Like I throw it in the protein shake. Even if you don't, though, it's not a big deal. But
It doesn't mix well with water, and that's what's super annoying to me.
that is super annoying. I'll give you that.
I had
But
some friends who would just scoop it into their mouth and then just drink water and be done with it.
yeah, I don't know about that. Like,
This same group of people would put protein powder and water in a red Solo cup and mix it with their finger and then drink it. That's disgusting.
yeah, I mix it with a spoon. I'll
In
do
a
the
cup?
in a cup. Yeah, in a cup like this.
You have a shaker. You have a shaker bottle.
Yeah, I don't know. I just mix it with a spoon. It's not my
Gross.
finger. It's not my finger. But so let's say obviously protein powder, using that to get more protein, grams of protein throughout the day, great for like building mass, or even if you just find that you come up short on your protein throughout the day.
In college, I took a couple of nutrition classes, and actually it was an exercise science class. The teacher was like, "There's no reason to take protein powder because you get enough protein in your regular diet." And she was like, "Why do you take it? Why do you take it? Why do you take it?" And I was like, "Okay, first of all, obviously that's not true because the protein powder market is massive.
Right.
If it didn't do anything, we would find out by now."
Yeah. No, it definitely. I understand the sentiment. Like she's saying, you could just eat like whole foods.
Chicken, eggs.
But if you like, first of all, you got to decide how much protein you need in a day. And if you're a vegan, then you're probably saying you don't need more than 80 grams a day. But if you're trying to be a power lifter or a bodybuilder, you're like, I need 220 grams a day. So good luck getting that from chicken, because I know you can, but if you're anything like me, that the thought of eating that much chicken makes you want to kill yourself.
Yeah.
So,
and good luck eating that many beans.
Oh yeah, forget that. So yeah, I'm gonna eat less chicken and just have a couple of shakes throughout the day.
Yeah, and it's super easy and convenient, and you can leave it in your car or you can leave it at work. And if you're hungry, you just knock it back and you're like, all right, that wasn't junk food. I just knocked back some protein.
Yeah, and it's actually like enjoyable too. It can't like when you're like, oh, I can either eat another chicken and rice or I can have this protein shake.
That could very possibly taste like M&Ms or Oreo cookies.
Yeah. So yeah, they're definitely effective. I understand the sentiment around you don't need them. You could just eat more food for sure, but that's the whole point of supplements, is to make your life easier.
Yeah.
Right? Like
and they are supplements. They're not like, well, you said something last time, didn't you?
What did I say?
The supplement is like in addition to, and then you said
complement.
Oh, complement. Right.
Yeah.
So they are something that you should use as a backup and not a primary.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
So
go ahead.
Oh, I was going to change the other supplements that I've tried.
Well, I was just going to mention real quick, since we've said creatine, the idea behind creatine and why you would take it.
Yeah, definitely.
So like creatine, the idea is that the creatine is used in like the short burst cycles that are like when you're trying to produce real high intensity output. It's like it's the first or one of the first things that are used in there. So taking creatine, getting more of that in your system, then you'll be more effective when you're trying to do like sprints or lifting weights. Like those really short, high intensity sessions is what creatine is supposed to be good for. So take creatine, you'll have more effective weight training sessions, and you get stronger and faster and bigger and all that.
Yeah. So actually that creatine can boost. I read a research paper that said up to like 60 seconds, they were showing some changes. So normally that energy pathway is 20 seconds. And with that boost of creatine, you have a 5 or 10 day loading period.
Yeah.
And then after that, you have a maintenance dose, and you should cycle on and off. But it's basically tripling your sprint power, or doubling for sure your sprint power.
I believe it. I've actually read some things I didn't read like deep into it, but I've read some things that suggest that creatine also has some really good like brain health effects, like to I guess ward off things such as like Alzheimer's.
Oh, nice.
So like neurological, it helps like with some of those things. It'd be interesting to do more research into exactly what that is, but I've heard some things about that, and also that it's the recommended dose, I believe, is like 2.5 grams a day.
Mm-hmm.
The loading dose is like 5, right?
Yeah, it's
I have that mixed
so
up. It might be like 10. 10 might be the loading dose, and 5 might be the daily dose.
5 grams 5 times a day for 5 days, or
5 times a day, damn.
that's a 5-day loading period.
Yeah.
Or you take 10 grams a day for 2 weeks, and then you dose it down.
Yeah, and then you go down to 5, I believe, a
Mm-hmm.
day. And I've heard also that there's not a
Negative.
need to stop taking it, really. Like you could
Nice.
take 5 every day. I've heard that as well. So, look into that stuff if you're interested in creatine.
Have you had creatine cramps?
No, I never had a problem with it.
Nice. So some people suffer from them because you're pulling water into your system differently, and your body doesn't like that. So if you're taking creatine, make sure you're drinking 80 to 100 ounces of water, which you should be doing anyway. So just drink normal amounts of water and then make adjustments as you go. It's a good plan.
Nice. Okay, so
what's your creatine brand?
I can't remember what it is actually. It's it's right over here. I can grab it in a sec, but it's like on Amazon. It's in this white bag. It's a white bag with some sort of red label, and it's unflavored.
Is it bulk supplements?
I think that's it. That sounds right.
Cool.
That sounds right.
I'm getting white powder in a white bag with a handwritten label on it, and I'm pretty sure I'm getting
the good
strong.
stuff. It says the good stuff on it.
I bought it from Hank. I don't know. Hank's
I actually don't take it right now, though. It's been sitting in my cabinet for like months, and I haven't taken it. So
I got to get back on it. Well, when we do our conjugate system.
Yeah, I'll get back on it.
Yeah, it's a good idea.
So what else? What's the next one you got on your list that you have taken or currently take?
So I haven't taken or tried that many supplements, usually because what happens is I'm friends with people who are a little bit older than me, and they read an article or find somebody at GNC, and they're like, bro.
Yeah.
I just heard about this deer antler spray. And I'm like, whoa.
I've never taken that, but I've known people who've tried it.
Yeah. So the only drugs I take are erectile dysfunction drugs for no reason other than I like being hard. I'm just kidding. Funny story though. I work with a guy. I do personal training with this guy who has a history of pulmonary embolism. So he's on this medication for his pulmonary embolism, so it keeps his blood a little bit thinner. Also, it's the same medication that gives you super boners. So he's like in his mid 50s, and he's like, dude, I feel amazing.
That's so funny.
Yeah, he's like, my lungs feel good, but that's not what it's all about. They just make you feel extra pumped up. No, so no nootropics are the other drug that I've played around with.
I've never taken any of those. I don't know what that is.
So the idea is that they pass the blood-brain barrier.
Ah, okay.
So you have like your mushroom coffee. What is that? 4-sigmatic. Tim Ferriss is always talking about it. It's like a nootropic. So the idea is that it's a chemical that interacts with your brain chemistry to make you basically run a little hotter, a little faster. So there are downsides because if your metabolism goes up, you need more calories. Otherwise, you're going to crash.
Yeah.
So the one that worked really well for me was piracetam, and then I took it with acetylcholine. So when you take piracetam, it uses up more acetylcholine, which is a neurotransmitter. And if you don't have enough, the opposite will happen. You become down and slower because you're missing out on that neurotransmitter.
Right, okay.
So you could also not take acetylcholine and just eat a whole bunch of eggs. And I was just super nervous because I didn't want to be low on ACH.
Yes.
But if you've ever seen Limitless, empty stomach with intermittent fasting, maybe a little ketotic, maybe a little, unrecorded. Piracetam, acetylcholine, and then you hit that with a dose of caffeine, just 1 cup of coffee. It's like you're flying. Feels
Sounds
great.
amazing.
It is amazing. And it's not as crazy as like in that scene from Limitless, which I would totally take that drug if it was available.
Yeah, who wouldn't?
Yeah, I don't know.
Did
I'm
it
in.
end up killing you or something though?
No, he got away.
Oh, okay, I don't remember. It was a long time
He
ago.
drank, spoilers, but someone got hit over the head and they were like bleeding all over the ground and someone stole his drugs. So he drank their blood, which had a little bit of like NZT, I think that's what it was called in it.
I don't remember.
And that gave him enough of a buzz to solve his escape.
Interesting.
Yeah, that movie's pretty fun. I don't know. I like Brad Cooper.
Yeah, he's good. He's definitely good. So I've never taken nootropics. I've taken, okay, so one that I've done was like the green drink, where it's just basically like ground up vegetables, basically like powdered vegetables, I guess. Is that?
Was it called the green drink?
No, I forget what it was called. I think I just looked up like a vegetable supplement, and there's like different brands of them, but they all just help you get all those little micronutrients that you don't.
Athletic Greens is the one that.
Yeah, that's. I don't think that was the one because I know that was the expensive version of what I wanted, but I got like the cheap version of that. And then I've taken you mentioned CoQ10, but I've taken another. What's it called? What is that thing called? What is CoQ10? Antioxidant, you said?
Antioxidant, yeah.
Yeah, I took one that was, I think it was called like NAD, I believe.
Yeah, and that's in aerobic metabolism, right?
Yeah.
Anaerobic metabolism.
Was it called NAD? I want to say it was called NAD or NAD plus. But that could just be in my brain for another reason. But it was one of those antioxidants that I used to take. And then what else have I taken? I took this one thing that was called Prime Test. And it was like this, it was this supposedly a testosterone booster, but it was like just a bunch of herbs in a pill. And you take it like once or twice a day. And it was supposed to naturally boost your testosterone.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't get jacked or anything, so I don't think it worked. But
how did your wife feel about it, or your partner?
I don't think it did anything.
Got it.
At all.
Got it.
She was thrilled just because of me, naturally. Like
obviously,
as always.
She doesn't need any more of you.
Exactly. I don't think it did anything at all. I think I just got gypped. But then what else have I? Trying to think if there's any other supplements I may have taken.
I took one more, and it was the PAG stack. It was polycosanol, alpha-lipoic acid, green tea flavonols, and garlic extract. And then you're supposed to pair that with cod liver oil. Do not buy cod liver oil, no matter how. If it was magic energy pills that made you fly, I would still not take it. Fermented cod liver oil.
That sounds bad. Fermented, yeah, that sounds.
I bought a bottle for like $60, and I used one sip of it, and I threw the rest away. No, I didn't drain it. That's terrible. I closed that shit up tight, put it in a bag, put it in the trash can, and took it out immediately. I had a teaspoon of it. I thought I was going to throw up. And then for the rest of the day, I was just burping up fermented cod liver oil smell.
Oh, no.
Dude, I tried it with everything. Ice cream, applesauce, nothing.
No. Yeah, I don't think BCAAs.
Nice. Branched chains, yeah.
Branched chain amino acids, yeah.
I like them as like a pre-workout drink, but those usually give me a pretty bad cotton mouth.
Really? I don't get that experience. I usually take them as a post-workout, but I guess the idea with those, from the reading that I did, the limited reading that I did, the idea with those, it's supposed to help like your CNS recover.
That's interesting.
Yeah. That's what I've heard.
CNS recover from amino acids?
Yeah. Yeah, from being like super taxed. If you do like a high intensity workout that taxes your, whether it's lifting or like just high intensity interval training or whatever, it's supposed to help the recovery of that. Because apparently like you get, I don't know if it's neurotransmitters, but I guess so. that get imbalanced when you tax the system like that. And apparently the BCAAs are supposedly help with that recovery in some way.
So what's your recommended regime or rotation for someone who works out 4 to 5 times a week, does some high intensity interval training and some weightlifting?
I mean, I think pretty much most of the ones we said would be fair game, because none of them are like game changers necessarily. And I think that's the important thing to know, is that supplements aren't game changers. They just, you already said it, they just add to whatever else you're doing.
We're talking 1 to 2% performance boost.
Yeah, exactly, at best. So I think any of the ones we named, if you pick, 2 or 3 of them that you feel like you are missing out on because of your diet or your lifestyle or whatever. So whatever 2 or 3 fill those gaps. For me personally, right now I'm doing like the fish oil, the multivitamin, and the protein powder.
Yeah, those plus creatine, that's like a pretty good, like, let's get started. Let's take some supplements. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, exactly. I think those plus creatine, I'm just personally not doing the creatine right now, but like I could throw it in there. It wouldn't bother me to throw it in there. So yeah, but like if you feel like you need vitamin D, then throw that one in there.
Yeah.
I
mean, I live in Pittsburgh and it's not sunny at all. And I'm pretty sure every person in Pittsburgh should just take vitamin D anyway.
Yeah. I think everybody in the Northeast should take it.
We should just stop living in the Northeast and move south.
That sounds like a plan to me. But
I like it. I like the recommendations for that. So because we're talking about supplements, we have to talk about some performance related things.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I'm getting worse at my transitions. They're getting worse.
Oh, wait, was that let me hear. I didn't know that was a transition.
Speaking of supplements and 1% performance, why are the CrossFit games so boring?
Yeah, that was a bad transition. It's okay.
People are just here for the video.
Yeah.
To all of our podcast listeners.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I like this topic. Why are the CrossFit games so boring? Well, first of all, do you think the CrossFit games are boring?
Okay, so I hate Dave Castro. I'm going to say it.
I know that like my reflex is to hate him. So I think I overcompensate and try to give him the benefit of the doubt in some things. But yeah, it's tough sometimes with him, right?
It's just his professionalism that I don't like. I like the programming of the games are fun to watch event to event, but I just don't like the way that he is in charge of basically $100 million event. And it seems like it's just a backyard competition with a guy who just does whatever he feels like doing whenever he feels like it.
Yeah, I can see that. I agree.
He does program some cool workouts.
Some of them are, and then some of them I think are dumb, honestly. Like, trying to think. Cyclocross, I thought that was so dumb.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was so dumb. Like, I get it, like, if that's your sport and that's what you do, but you might as well have had them play, like, pickup basketball or something.
Yeah, and maybe that's coming.
Just play a different sport altogether, and that's the event. You know what I mean?
Yep. So how many times has Matt Frazier won in a row?
5, right?
Yep.
I think.
Yeah, he's 5. And how many times has Tia won?
3 or 4.
I think she is 4.
Yeah, I don't remember. I think she was one behind you. I think you're right.
So regardless, you have this like we'll call Tia's span 4 years. The same 2 people winning first place over and over and over and over and over again.
Yeah.
So is it fun to watch, like, when Lance was just winning the events over and over and over, was it still fun to watch the Tour de France?
I don't fucking know. I didn't watch that.
Okay, that sport is super boring. Anyway, just people riding bikes close together.
7 days.
It's cool, and it's a cool display of athleticism, but it's not fun to watch the same person win over and over
Not
again.
spectator friendly, yeah.
No, it's not. You can't even spectate it. You can't.
Yeah.
It's not possible. You have to go on TV. Or you stand there and you're like, yeah! Okay, now they're all gone.
I always wonder about that. I always wonder about that exact thing. When you see like, typically it's with like you said, a bike race or a marathon or something. And like you see people like they're halfway through the marathon, but yet people are cheering for them. It's like, you guys just went to like watch the middle of the race. Like, that's all you're going to see?
So I worked the Pittsburgh Marathon for a couple years, and that is exactly what happened.
But like, I would get it if you were just at the finish line.
No, I was in mile 17. Like, we were just in the middle.
I was just watching, like,
people were just gathered, just like, yay! They were volunteer cheerers, and they registered as volunteer cheer squad.
Interesting.
And every time a big group would come, they'd ring a bell, and it was strange.
But anyways, back to the CrossFit Games. So I think you could argue the CrossFit Games are not very spectator friendly either. I think they've gotten better with how they program certain things and set them up to make them a little more spectater friendly.
There's still some ideas from Grid League.
Yeah, exactly. Like having stations where the barbell progresses so you can visually see who's in the lead.
Yeah.
I think that helps. That type of stuff helps. But I think also just the nature of, like, I'll watch football and I don't play football. I'll watch basketball and I don't play basketball. But in order to watch CrossFit, you have to do CrossFit in order to watch it, because otherwise you don't really understand what's going on. You don't really understand, like, oh, I guess 200 pounds for 21 reps is a lot. I don't know.
I would say that if you're in a barbell strength sport, you get it.
Yeah. If you do any sort of, you have to do something similar though.
Powerlifting, strongman, ollie lifting, just deadlifting because it's fun. So you have like a point of reference.
But yeah, you need that point of reference is my point. Like, whereas I think with something like strongman, you have people who don't work out who might still be captivated by the idea of strongman because they're lifting cars and like refrigerators and stuff. It's like, oh, well, that I get that,
Right. It's
but a barbell. You're like, I don't know what 200 pounds on a bar means if you don't work out. You know what I mean?
So it's pretty much watching a guy, like in basketball, the parallel would be watching a guy take shots from different places in the court, uncontested, but whoever makes the most shots from the most places, the fastest wins. Like, you ever play Around the World in basketball?
Yeah.
So like, just have two people, one person on either side of the court. They just shoot, and whoever finishes first wins.
Yeah.
And then there's a tiebreaker of accuracy percentages or something like that.
Yeah.
And that's not fun to watch either.
It could be. I will say, I want to go back to the CrossFit Games in a second, but you've mentioned Around the World, and I just saw this video. Hilarious. Michael Jordan, and in the video, he's obviously already retired. It could have been maybe 5 years ago or something. And he's at this basketball camp, and there's 100 kids, like middle school age, maybe high school age kids at this basketball camp. And the guy who's running it calls Michael Jordan over and says he's going to play Around the World. He's going to do a thing of Around the World. And if he misses a shot, all the kids, every single one, gets a free pair of Jordans. And so Jordan looks at him and he just shrugs his shoulders, goes, okay, drains every single shot like a savage.
He doesn't give a fuck about those kids.
No, just like a savage, just drained them all.
Man, you're supposed to have bricked the last one on purpose. Like, that's what you're supposed to do.
No, you're supposed to drain them all and then give them shoes anyway. I don't know if he did.
Yeah.
I don't know if he did give them shoes anyway. Probably not, because that wasn't what was agreed on. But
fuck you guys.
But I just thought it was savage that he was just like, all right, and just drained them all.
He's in jeans and just like chilling. Oh, so cool.
But anyways, so back to the games. I think we're talking about like spectator friendliness. I think that can be overcome. I think the main problem, though, is what you mentioned, where you have the same two people just winning it. Mm-hmm. And especially when you're talking about the guys' side, like, it's not even close. Like, not even close. The girls' side, at least there's a race every now and then that gets exciting. Mm-hmm. Guys' side, not even close. So I mean, what do you think? Do you think that that's a factor, or do you think that you could still
Yeah.
be exciting without that?
So I used to watch every event of everything basically until Matt won twice in a row.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's the same for me. I just don't know if that's just like a coincidence that that's when I fell off, or if that's like reflective of how most people.
Well, Rich's last year, and then Ben's win, and then Matt's win were like three of my favorite games to watch.
Yeah, back to back to back. Those were great. Yeah.
Yeah, different people. It was literally a toss-up. You had no idea. Um, the events were cool. My favorite Rich Froning moment ever was in regionals.
Oh, the one where he goes under the bar, you
He
said?
goes under. Yep. He jerks it up and walks under the bar. That was the most badass. Like, this is me. I'm here. You guys are nothing.
I like it.
Yeah. And then the events, I feel like they lose their ability to evolve because of the complexity of the sport too. So you have to try hard. Like the worm was cool the first year, but then after that, it's still the worm.
That's a big point of contention for me, is that goddamn worm, because they use it ever since they introduced it. They use it in almost every event, not just every year, but like
Right.
as often as they possibly can use it, they use it. And with a barbell, you could say, oh, they use the bar in every event, but like there's a lot more things you can do with the barbell.
Yeah.
Whereas with the worm, they just end up doing basically different versions of the same workout every time.
Clean to the shoulders, squat, jerk,
Yeah,
squat, drop.
it's like so boring to watch that. But I think so. I agree with you. I think that the people, Matt and Tia winning easily, especially again Matt winning by no contest year after year after year, makes it very boring. And I think a lot of people kind of feel that way too. So my brother asked me this question when the games were going on like a week or two ago. He texted me and he was like, "Yo, why are these so boring anymore?" And that's kind of what inspired this.
So he was watching them and he asked you. He said they were boring.
He always like tunes into the leaderboard and whatnot, and I don't know if he watched like a video at all, but he just tunes into the leaderboard. And I guess back when like again when Rich was there and everything, like we would watch it and it would be exciting, and then now it seems like we don't care anymore. And he's just like, "Yo, what's up with this? Like, why does it feel that way?" And I said to him, and this is what I think, is it, like you're saying, same people winning, but why are the same people winning? And his point was, there's no way. There's so many fucking people in the world. There's no way we've already found the most dominant people. Like, what's going on?
Yeah.
And my idea, my thought is that there's just not enough money in the sport, right?
Yep.
So, like, I mean, it's kind of twofold too, because it's not like anybody can just do it easily, right? You typically have to go to a gym, which is going to cost like 120 to 150 bucks a month. So like you can't, not just anybody's going to sign up for that. So that's a kind of a barrier to entry right there. And then on top of it, the only people who can make a living being an athlete in the sport are like the top 5 from each division, right?
I think it's a little bit more widespread than that as fitness comes to the forefront, especially in America. Right. So I think more than the top 5 people make a living, because every shoe brand and like, what do you need? You need, I don't know, 50K.
Yeah, 50K, I would say 50K a year for it to be like, well, I don't know. So here's the deal. Like, I agree 50K a year is definitely enough to call it a living, but you're talking about a maybe a possibility of 50K a year, right?
Yeah.
Like and you can have people that go to the games. You can have somebody who goes to the CrossFit games, a man or a woman goes to the CrossFit games for the past 6 years in a row and hasn't made more than like $1,000 from that.
Okay. So okay. So this is what happens in other sports where you can't really make a living. So a company, I don't know, XYZ Insurance is like, I want a CrossFit Games athlete, or I want a professional golfer. So now you work for me, I don't know, 10, 20 hours a week or none, and I'll take care of you. But everything that you mention is XYZ Insurance. It has to be.
Yeah.
Now you're just my publicity thing. But the thing with CrossFit is you have to be a specific type of person. You have to, if you're a guy, you come from Olympic weightlifting and you're successful. Maybe not a medalist, but like you need to snatch like high twos, clean and jerk in the threes. Then you need 3 years to develop 50 pull-ups and a sub 6-minute mile. And now you have a shot. Like you're not even in, and you can't be in
That's
a
what I'm
year.
saying. Like I understand that there are a lot of people who make like, you know, small amounts of money doing it.
Mm-hmm.
But even then, it's only a possibility to get that. Like you don't know that you're getting that. There are people who've gone to the games multiple years in a row, never really made a dime off of it. Like maybe they got like one sponsorship one year where they got free food for like, you know, meal prep or whatever, but like not really a living. And they were at the games, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
So it's like you're working your ass off just at the chance of making 50K a year. And then only if you actually, you know, make it to the top are you actually going to be like living that professional athlete life.
Do you have a proposed solution?
I mean, no, I haven't thought about that. You just need more money in the sport.
Well, I wonder if you couldn't treat it the same way that you treat teams, right? So you have your bench people and they're making enough to survive. And then above the bench, you have like the starters, and then above the starters, or like you have the players that play, and then above them you have the starters, right? So if Nike, Under Armour, Reebok, Puma, like whatever, you pick a few brands, they're like, listen, we're gonna put $2.5 million a year to be in charge of 10 athletes. And not only do you pay them, you know, 50,000 or whatever, but you can feed them. You can take care of their physical necessities outside of training. You can have a coach on staff that's the Nike coach. Yeah. Right. And that coach, like Bergeron or any top tier coach, just comes in and they work with these athletes through different phases. And you sign a 3-4 year contract, something short. You know, a $200,000 contract over 4 years for Under Armour is like, they don't care. It's like nothing.
Yeah.
So is the sport interesting enough to make those companies put some money behind the sport? And I don't know.
Well, that's okay. So a couple of things here. Like first, let's compare it to the big sports that we know about, basketball and football, for example. Like, so in the NBA and the NFL, way more athletes, just way more athletes than who gets to go to the CrossFit games, right?
Yeah.
At the CrossFit games, the highest level of the sport, they're taking like 100 athletes, maybe 150 or something like that. Whereas in the NFL, NBA, whatever, it's higher. So first of all, there's just more spots available, if you will. And then on top of that, everybody on the NFL team, even on the bench, like the minimum is what? Like $100,000 or $200,000, like on the bench minimum. Yeah. Like practice squad is like 150. I don't know, something like that. So, like, there's a lot more spots, and all of them are doing well. And basketball is ridiculous. Those numbers that the people make in basketball are just absurd.
So what we need to do or know is how much revenue does the CrossFit Games bring in as a brand by itself?
Well, then that's the other side of the coin. I just watched this video about this sport that they like recently started in India. But actually it didn't really start it. It's a sport that's been around for a long, long time, but it was never like something they would watch on TV or anything like that. It was a sport that it's like tag essentially, something that people would just play out in the field, basically. It wasn't something a professional sport. And just within the past couple of years, they decided to turn it into a professional sport, but they had to make certain changes to it so that way it would be captivating and like intriguing. And the first year they had 500 million viewers.
Oh shit.
In the first year. So in their first season. So like that points back to what we were originally talking about with Dave Castro and how he's programming the games and making them interesting.
Yeah.
So if they can do that with a sport that's essentially tag, I mean, you can find a way to do it with CrossFit, right?
What's the name of that sport?
It's called something with a K. Kubari, something like that.
I'm definitely going to check out that. But you're right though. There needs to be, I think a season of CrossFit where you have 1v1 matches, you have, 2v2s, or even like anything longer than just, basically there are 2 live events. Call it 3 if the open is part of it, but the open isn't really live.
Right.
So you build a season around it, and then, the purists will say, well, you're not periodizing correctly because you can't peak more than once a year. Well, to be the fittest, you should be the fittest most of the time.
Yeah.
Which I would say Frazier would just win the whole thing anyway.
He would. Yeah.
But you put different people, so you take him out of the limelight. So one week you have Frazier versus, I don't know, a Panchik. And then the next week you have, Olsen versus, what's Ed Sheeran's Super Saiyan form? Pat Vellner.
Funny.
Yeah. So then you like create these microcosm events, and they'd be fun to watch.
Yeah, for sure. So part of it is just money in the sport. Part of it is, well, how do you get the money in the sport? The sport needs to be entertaining. So that's going to come back to how they put the competitions on. So what you're saying. And then the other part that is still key, though, is the barrier to entry.
Yeah, super high.
It is. I mean, it's not the most high. There are sports that are definitely higher, right? Like, I don't know, like golf or something like that, where you have to
pay to play on a club.
Every time. You either have to pay some absurd club membership, or you have to pay like $40 every time you play.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And that's like a cheap course. So like it's not the highest level of entry, but it's not basketball where you can just go to the park and buy a $12 ball somewhere.
Yeah.
So it's not that. And basketball and football and baseball, these are all at every high school all throughout America. You can just sign up and be on the team.
Now, I would totally love to see functional fitness as a collegiate sport, and I think that can grow it.
Yes, I would agree. And that is A, happening, and B, happening right down the street. Like,
yeah, same thing with us. We have the University of Pittsburgh CrossFit Club come to our gym.
Yeah, and we have the Westchester one. So that is happening.
The rivalry is started.
It's helping, but I don't know how it works at your gym, or really how it works because I'm sure it happens at other gyms across the country.
Delaware is a big one.
Yeah, but I don't know, like, if people sign up for the club, like at school, they sign up for the club at school, and the club goes to the gym to do their workouts and their training and whatnot. Like, what are the fees associated with that club? Are you basically just paying a gym membership at that point?
At ours, they pay nothing.
Okay.
The university will give them money, and they rent out our gym for a very, very low fee.
But like, to join that club at the university, do they have to pay anything?
No, it doesn't cost them anything.
Okay, so anybody can just sign up. They're in. They don't need to pay a club fee.
Right.
And they pay you guys, but that's money from the university, not.
Yep, that's right. Yeah, and they have space at the university, but usually, as funny as this sounds, the first 2 weeks, they hit them with like Fran, Jackie, Diane, Elizabeth, Murph, and they like weed out the people who are fakers.
I see.
I don't know if that's a good idea, but it's just how it works with them.
That's just what they're doing. I got
they get 200 signups the first week, and then
like, we gotta whittle this down.
Yeah, it's insane. It's insanity. And then I would say that University of Pittsburgh would probably lose in a team battle versus Westchester.
I don't know. I haven't seen, like, I don't know how they perform, but okay, but that's good though. So they can just sign up, and they don't have to. There's no barrier of entry for them then.
Correct.
Really, like, not much at all.
So it's funny that we bring this up. We should talk about this again, because I would love to be the head CrossFit coach at a university. I think that would be super fun.
That'd be cool, right?
Every couple of years, you get a new burst of athletes. You have your captains. It could be a project for the exercise science club. The physical therapy students have like this group of athletes who want to be healthy and be better. You have like some across state lines competition, and the whole premise is to be healthy. So you have the people who are in the club that don't compete and they just want to lose 10 pounds, lower their blood pressure, like just feel better in their own skin. And then you have the competitors and they kind of all like intermingle, because real life, you're going to have that intermingling between the unhealthy but want to be healthy and the super athletes.
Yeah.
And that interaction will have people in different areas meeting and connecting. And I love that idea too.
Yeah. So I think those are like the three problems you have to solve. And I mean, the first one, the barrier to entry problem, I mean, they're all these problems that like I don't think anybody put in place on purpose, right? It's just like the nature of that system. Like you need a lot of equipment.
Yeah.
Even if you're one person, you need a full garage gym worth of equipment.
And a coach.
A lot of money. That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
So you're either going to spend thousands of bucks on that for yourself, or you're going to pay $150 a month to go to a gym. Like there's no real workaround, right?
I'm hopeful though. And I think the sport is super young and they have potential with, especially the new CEO.
Yeah. He has some ideas, I hear. So
he also built a company and sold it for like $500 billion or something crazy like that.
Yeah, something crazy like that.
So if he can start his own thing and do that, like I have faith in Eric Roza.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what he can do. I think one of the crucial aspects of it though is that programming piece. Like, and maybe not just when I say programming, I just mean how they do the whole thing, how they put on the show. Right?
Yeah.
And I don't know, maybe there is a limit to that. Maybe there's a ceiling to how interesting it can be.
Yeah, there are so many things you could do, because you can go into local cities for different weeks of the competition. You know, so you have like the CrossFit arena in Austin, Texas, and then you have the CrossFit arena in like San Jose. You have different like, you know, you just create a course, because if it's at some box, that's cool, but it's not feasible to run a media team effectively as you drive 2 or 3 tractor trailers worth of equipment across the country. But maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, I don't know. But
One tractor trailer is just for equipment.
I think Rogue could do it.
Yeah.
They could make it work.
Another company that I think has cool potential to find like some ownership here.
Yeah. I don't know. It's just interesting. I think those are the problems, really. Most of it's money, and most of it is also just making it interesting, making it exciting for the spectators. I don't know. I hope they figure it out, because it's a fun sport. And I miss kind of when it was exciting for me to watch it, you know? Yep. So I'd love for that to come back. But yeah, they got some obstacles to overcome. So
if you guys have any suggestions on how the CrossFit Games could be better or more fun, especially if you don't care that much about CrossFit, because you're the person that that would be like the ideal feedback from.
Right.
You know,
yeah, exactly.
Having a devout fan isn't going to give useful feedback, because they'll just watch it no matter what. And there's nothing wrong with that, but the feedback that's the most helpful is that constructive criticism from a place of, oh, I've heard of it and I've watched a little bit, but it didn't catch my attention.
Yes. Exactly.
So drop that info in the comments below. Boom.
And like, comment, share, subscribe, whatever else it may be. Because this is the Casually Fit Life podcast, and we're just trying to bring you some knowledge about what it means to live a casually fit life.
Fitish.
Anything else you want to add?
I got nothing. Take your supplements, put some bands on, have some chains around, enjoy your life, and have a great rest of your day.
Perfect. Peace.